Hi everyone, it's the EnglishSimmer here, and this video was brought to you through the EA Game Changers program, so big thank you to EA for providing me with early access to the brand new expansion Eco Lifestyle so that I could make some videos on it and talk about it. So I know the last time I uploaded an Eco Lifestyle video was about a week ago now, sort of in that time frame, and I decided to kind of take a week, and no, I have not been playing this expansion. The event that we had was basically a Sims camp, so we got a couple of days to sit down with the pack remotely, obviously because of everything that's going on in the world right now. We couldn't travel to EA Play or anything like that to actually sit down and record, so we had it on our origins, which is why you see the little dotted thing, like our names flying around, and we haven't been playing it since that got revoked. So no, I haven't been playing it for a week. This is basically a follow-up on whether I think this pack will suit your game style and your play style or not. So in the videos that I did upload, they were kind of just overviews. They were basically discussing what comes in the pack and what personally doesn't come in the pack and I think should be included in the pack. So not only are we going to hit on those points today, I'm hoping this is going to be a shorter, more digestible video. So Exaroid over on Twitter, this was the tweet that actually inspired this video, so thank you to you, Matthew. I worry about the replay value of Eco Lifestyle a lot, which is completely understandable. If you don't feel like you're going to get replay value out of an expansion, what's the point of you spending your money on it? And I replied with, I think the replay value comes from whether or not you enjoy the environmental changes and the new items such as generators or wind turbines and solar panels for off-the-grid living. The freelancer career isn't the most fun thing, not a lot of variation. Hobbies are fun if you're into them, and community lots are fun if you want a bigger sense of community outside of drinking and partying. Kind of like festivals, but done on your own terms. That's my take. So we're going to dive into all of those points in a little further detail and kind of what I meant by that tweet. I do think off the grid is probably the main selling point of this pack to me personally. I think that's where you're gonna get the most replay value. If you are a player who likes a challenge, if you're a player who likes to do legacy or runaway teen or rags to riches, if you like starting your Sims life off with not a lot to their name and then growing and building off your own back, this is going to be great for you, in my opinion, because you can be fully functional off the grid. I feel like Island Living tried to do that and just failed, and it kind of sucks that it took Eco Lifestyle to come out to kind of push that and actually be what I think they were initially aiming for in Island Living. However, I'm not mad that this is also covered in Eco Lifestyle, because where it's not the main kind of feature of Eco Lifestyle, it definitely helps that. And if you are one of these players, this pack I think is for you, because you can use the new generators. Yes, they will have an effect on the environment if you have those environmental effects turned on. They will have a negative effect, so you'll be kind of going into the industrial footprint. Or if you decide to use wind turbines and solar panels, that will have a green effect. So all of these new objects can generate power on your lot. You can also sell the extra power created through the new bill system, so you can make money through that, and they can reduce your bills. Also, this is a big pack in the sense that it does affect outside of just the world. I know that the environmental effects are kind of there from the very beginning in Evergreen Harbor, which is the brand new world. However, these environmental effects can also change any world minus Strangerville and destination worlds. And also you can vote on naps, which is kind of a big feature. So I think that it's good that this doesn't just focus on Evergreen Harbor. However, for me personally, environmental effects have never really been interesting to me. They're kind of just very surface level. I mean, it takes a while to get there, and it does seem to be quite challenging, I found anyway. But the thing is, like, it doesn't really change your gameplay, and I don't really like things that don't change your gameplay. They change your gameplay in the sense of when you're trying to reach those things, you will obviously have to focus on the items and the gameplay that help you to reach either end of the scale. But once you actually reach those, your sim kind of coughs and gets a tense moodlet if it's polluted. If it's green, they get like a happy moodlet from breathing clean air, and then you get the aura. And apart from that, I don't think it really has a major effect on how it affects your sims. So to me, not the biggest selling point, and honestly, I can see myself getting pretty bored of like actually reaching the end goal. I think I'll enjoy the journey more than I'll enjoy the goal of actually reaching being green or industrial. However, this pack is also big in the sense that everything that is introduced in this pack intertwines very nicely with one another, and there are plenty of stories to tell. Like, you could have a person who wants to live in a trashy world and just wants to go dumpster diving all the time. You could also have someone who literally makes their own house from the ground up. Like, they can start recycling things, and then they can start fabricating their own furniture. They can use candles that they make for lighting. It is kind of cool how you can literally build a Sims life from the very ground up with this pack. I think that's a very cool element. So there are a lot of different stories to tell with the new hobbies. If you like hobbies, then obviously you have the juice fizzing, you have the fabrication, and you also have the candle making. I do kind of wish that woodworking had had an update for this pack. That's one hobby I definitely feel is lacking. I feel like they could have added some new furniture, maybe some more modern furniture. Kind of goes hand in hand with the fabricating furniture. I think that would have been really cool. And I definitely feel like there were some missed opportunities for younger Sims once again. I say this every pack, but I do wish that there was more for younger Sims. I feel like kids maybe could have got gardening access in this pack. That could have really put a lot of monetary value into this pack. Imagine if kids could now garden, but they unfortunately can't. The only things that they can do is recycle things, so they can dive into the dumpsters, and they can also make one type of candle on the candle making station, which I would say is a step in the right direction. I think the Sims team probably decided to have kids be able to make that dipped candle because they've probably seen people in the community talk about how lacking children are in the game. So I have my optimistic hat on, and I'm like, hopefully that means that they're taking notes and they do want to further reintroduce children into the game and have them doing more stuff. But apart from that, we just got a reskinned doll's house and we got a reskinned activity table. Would have loved to see a lemonade stand or something that the kids could have taken part in to kind of get this community feeling and be able to sell their own goods kind of like that adults can. There's actually a pre-made family that states that their kid really looks up to their mum's kind of ways of selling things and being creative in that sense, and yeah, there's nothing for her to do, so definitely just seemed to slide under the rug and didn't get a lot of attention. I prefer the community lots a bit more. I think they're really nice in the fact that they get your sim out of the house. If your sim is living on a smaller lot and they either can't afford the new objects or they don't have the space because those objects are massive. Sims team, can we please get smaller objects? I'm begging ya. If you enable the makerspace, it kind of gets Sims out of the house, and we all know that The Sims 4 is currently a young adult simulator. However, it's nice to see a community lot where you can get out of the house that doesn't solely focus around drinking. Because whenever I take my Sims out, it's either to go bowling, to go eat in a broken restaurant where they barely get their food, or it's to go out partying. So it's really nice to see a new lot type that doesn't focus on Sims getting drunk and making out with one another. And also when it comes to community lots, I didn't actually test this. Someone brought this up in the comments of my gameplay video. I'm sorry, I cannot remember who it was. They said, can Sims go to the community lots even when it's in its default state? I did see one sim on the default community lot state. So when you first load up Evergreen Harbor, there are 3 community lots, and they all start out in their neutral position of basically being the town dump. There's a lot of rubbish built up all around them, and they also have like one recycling machine and a dumpster on them, and also a community board. They're very empty. They're basically just former shells of what they used to be. However, someone asked, can we change those in build mode? Can we change those default lots and just have it as like a nice little area for Sims to kind of gather in? I don't know the answer to that. I unfortunately didn't even think to test that out in the time that I had to play through this pack. I know that you can definitely change it. You can change the default in build mode, so you can make that whatever you want to be. I just don't know how many Sims will spawn there. I do know that there was one Sim on there when I spawned in who was using the recycling machine. I really hope that more than one Sim would spawn on that lot, and then they could kind of just, you could have 4 different builds under that one community lot that was always active and brought life into your community. So those are the aspects of the pack that I do think add replayability and longevity to The Sims 4, that you can kind of play over and over again with different little stories to tell, and I do think this pack is good for that. However, there are some that definitely fall flat for me. I've already talked about the environmental changes. I think it's fun whilst you are trying to reach either end of the scale, but once you've reached either end, you're kind of like, now what? And I can't see that being fun if you do it repeatedly. Also, I did talk about in my gameplay video, I was super disappointed that there doesn't seem to be an NPC character that supports destroying the environment, which sounds really bad, but I would have loved to see more of the negative side. There's this character called Bess who basically wants you to invest money, and yet she still wants the environment to be green. So she wants to make money and vote in naps that enable her to make money. But at the end of the day, she's still a green technician and she still wants to help the environment. There's not like this big bad like man who wants it all to be industrial. I don't know why he's a man in my head. I'm thinking of like Malcolm Landgrab. I would have absolutely loved to see someone who could kind of steer the story in that direction. I think that would have been really nice and definitely a missed opportunity in my opinion. Also, whilst I was having this conversation over on Twitter, the Spooky Simmer actually replied and said, the neighborhood action plans kind of help bring the rest of the world to life, which I am not denying. The action plans definitely help to make the world feel more alive. However, and this is a big however, I don't see there being a lot of replay value in some of the neighborhood action plans. So the ones that kind of encourage you to not use as much power or maybe want you to use more green power, those are pretty good. Like, I will say they kind of force you to go along with the story. However, the ones that kind of start affecting the community that you can really see out and about, such as free love, the trash bag ones where everyone has to wear a bag on their head, and the juiced one, which basically turns all Sims in your neighborhood dazed. One that only affects your neighborhood, which obviously it's a neighborhood action plan. However, your Sims traveling to a different world won't be affected by their neighborhood action plans. It also doesn't just affect the ones in your neighborhood who live in your neighborhood, it affects anyone who visits your neighborhood. So you can see Bella Goth roaming around absolutely pissed as a fart, which is great, it's funny, but how many times is that funny? Like, how many times are we gonna want to vote one of those action plans in to see a sim be drunk, like, around my neighborhood? Isn't that gonna get old pretty quick? For me personally, it is. I can't see myself voting in those action plans very often, and there's not a lot of them. I will say most of them tend to have an effect on the eco footprint, and these are kind of just like comedic relief ones. But I just don't know how many times players are gonna vote those in. Great for having a polyamorous neighborhood. Like, yes, give me that polyam representation. But after a while, I'm like, okay, like, this is enough now. And for me personally, I just can't see myself using them over and over again. I do also think that there was a big gameplay element that was missing when I played through this. So when you reach level 7 in the Green Technician career, you can start sending off blueprints for new inventions. And that's actually how you get, you know, the smog machine vacuum that we've seen in trailers, we've seen it in gameplay videos. I had it in my gameplay video. It's where your sim can kind of suck up smog. That can also be used on furniture. So if your sim finds dirty furniture whilst they are dumpster diving, they can actually clean it up and take all the ash off using that machine. However, you would have thought that Sims would have been able to sell that, or at least make a business out of it. This pack seems to be about being self-sufficient and being a little bit against the economy and kind of making your own money, living off the land and all of that fun stuff. But there's just this gaping hole of gameplay where if you restore furniture, you can sell it through your inventory just as usual. You can click and drag it into your inventory, or like go through buy mode and sell it that way. Or you can also just choose to recycle it. But why would you clean it up if you were just gonna recycle it? I think, and this is definitely a personal opinion because this was just something that jumped out at me whilst I was playing, I would have loved to see a tarp or a mat that you could put down on your lot, or also travel with and put down in community lots, and then drag furniture that was in your inventory onto the mat. Kind of like how the sales table works. Drag those onto this mat and be able to sell them for a pretty penny. That would have been a really nice gameplay element. It would have kind of added on to the feature of the tables that we already have. I know that some people were complaining that we were getting a third table. We've had one in Jungle Adventure, one in City Living, and now we have one in Eco Lifestyle. It makes sense when you think about it because a table is needed in this expansion. If people don't have City Living and they don't have Jungle Adventure, they needed to be able to sell their wares at the brand new community lots. They needed to be able to sell it on their own lot if they wanted to sell candles or juice. It makes sense that we have a table. However, instead of just having a table, I feel like we could have had this extra item that offers more gameplay and kind of a more realistic way to sell your upcycled furniture, because you have the option to upcycle furniture and then it just falls flat at the last hurdle and you're like, oh, I can't actually do a lot of things with this. And I mentioned this in my gameplay video. A couple of people said, don't we have a tarp in City Living that came with the flea market? We do, however, it's not usable. You can't actually use that tarp in your gameplay. It only appears at the flea market in the Spice District, and you also, I think you could probably buy it through debug. I've never looked, but it's not usable. Even if you can buy it, you can't place anything down on it. You can't place anything for sale. So there we have it. Those are pretty much my points, how I feel about Eco Lifestyle. Let me know how you guys feel. If you have watched my videos or you've watched other Game Changer videos, how are you feeling about this pack? I know there was definitely a negative reaction towards the trailers. I've seen a lot of people say that that they unfairly judged it from the trailer. However, I do still think that there were missed opportunities in this pack for sure. Even though I thoroughly enjoyed what I played, and I didn't get around to playing all of it, even though I had a few days to capture all my content, I didn't play through one branch of the career, and obviously I do need to test out community lots when I do get my hands back on eco lifestyle. So I'm excited to kind of explore that. And if there's any other videos that you want to see about eco lifestyle, definitely let me know. I'm thinking of maybe doing a Q&A, but I might hold off on that until I get access again to the pack, and then I could be like, okay guys, what do you want to know about eco lifestyle? And I can do like a quick run through of everything that you guys have asked me about it. So if you're interested in that, let me know. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Please do not hesitate to reach out to me and let me know what you're excited for, what you're not excited for, what you're liking from the pack that you've seen, and I will speak to you all in my next video. Bye guys!